Hello, everyone. We're going to start this webinar. I'm delighted to welcome you today for this dedicated webinar to the Spring-Summer 2024 Men's Collection. My name is Julie Pont, and I am the Fashion and Creative Director at Heuritech. Today, I'm joined by two members of my team, Amélie Rodsen and Victoria Repsit, both fashion analysts. Before summarizing our analysis and giving the floor to Amélie and Victoria, I wanted to explain and remind you, for the most loyal attendees maybe, that this analysis was conducted through the combined efforts of fashion experts, data specialists, and of course, our visual recognition technology. It is through the fusion of these expertise that we can present you today with the analytical potential offered to our clients through data. Each show has been thoroughly analyzed and scrutinized using our data to extract the most significant elements. This allows you to understand the real adoption of the market and the evolution of trends behavior without any bias. You may sometimes see decreasing or even negative data, but it is a deliberate choice because we are here to show you the current state of market demand as it is today and give you a glimpse of what it could be tomorrow. We are the signals amidst the noise, here to enable you to make informed decisions, and this is what matters the most for us. So before I'm going through the index, I wanted to share with you our thoughts regarding this new season that we choose to name the Flowing Beyond Boundaries Women's Menswear Transformation Journey. This is come from after the dazzling display of the Fall-Winter 2023 collections, which heralded return to elegance. The anticipation surrounding the season was palpable, as it held the potential to confirm or refute the emergence of a genuine new era in fashion. The designers' responses, while committed, were not unanimous in their direction, presenting a diverse landscape of ideas and inspirations, and a lot of work for us as well. But the influence of quiet luxury, with its profound fashion, marketing, and sociological implications was evident through the collection, making its marks on the industry. Milan, in particular, showcased the evolving definition of masculinity and tailoring. I'm thinking here of Brunello Cucinelli, Todd's Zigna, presented relaxing suiting, explained the versatility and fluidity of menswear. This redefinition of tailoring drew inspiration from utilitarian and technical elements, as seen at Prada, Hermès, and Givenchy, for instance, signaling a maturation of the gold core aesthetic into a more casual version suitable for everyday city life. So we're not only talking about elegancy here, we're also talking about comfort, and this is very important for the men's industry. Continuing the theme of the new eleganza we introduced in Fall-Winter 2023, a gentle and couture-like tailoring emerged at Valentino and Emporio Armani, accompanied by a rich offering to silk, brocade, and organza. This reaffirmed the desire to dress masculinity in its finest attire, embrace fluidity. The male wardrobe fearlessly borrowed the codes of its female counterparts, which is shifts for grand occasion to a more daily, light, and simplified application. But his borrowing was not simply aesthetic, because we were able to measure, according to our visual recognition technology, in the 120 shows analyzed, nearly 30% of the models were women. So it's really important to notice, because we are not only witnessing something that is highly changing in the masculine wardrobe, it's also in the shows itself, because the figure even approached 50% for brands such as The Squared, Martin Rose, Charles Jeffrey Loverboy, and Marine Serre. So the question is, do we still need men's fashion weeks, or should we just have fashion weeks mixing male and female looks? Because it's obvious that things are shifting, and maybe people are a bit tired of having like collection for male, collection for female, and maybe just the consumer needs something that is more fluid itself. But I need also to notice that contrasting with this refined elegance, a vibrant exuberance took center of the stage, characterized by transformative energy reminiscent of youth. Designers such as Marine Serre, 44 Labor Group, and Blue Marble drew inspiration from the various music scenes of the 90s, evoking a spirit of self-determination and collective experiences. Others embraced the new creative possibility arising from the exchange between man and machine, exploring AI-driven production methods and futuristic setups. This vibrant fluidity showcased dissonant prints and shimmering colors, creating a dynamic visual landscape. So to summarize a bit this flow of text, in this new era of menswear, where multiple and diverse answers emerged, the common thread was a desire to explore and push boundaries. I know it seems that we were saying this every season, but we need to admit that each proposal found its place, creating a levering effect that celebrates individuality and innovation. And it's through this collective spirits of uncompromising exploration that the menswear landscape of this season was shaped, embodying this essence of dynamic and transformative era. So now I'm going through this index just to explain a bit more what we're going to see today. There is nothing groundbreaking and new for who that already know Heuritech's webinar, because we always start with a city spotlight where you are able to have the top runway trend divided by city, analyzed by our AI. So for this webinar, you only have access to one city, but if you are interested to the full version of our report, I will invite you to get in touch with our team. You will have the mail address at the end of this webinar. On the second part, we are always keen to measure what we announced a year ago. So for the second part, you have the Spring-Summer 2023 street style pipeline. So it's basically the comparison of what we announced a year ago and how it's been adopted on the street style. The third part is the main one, because it's where you're going to find all the standout colors, prints, fabrics, and silhouette, and obviously accessories for the coming season. And to make it more entertaining and more understandable, we're gathering all those trends together under big thematics that you can find afterwards on our platform. Then on the fourth part, for the trends that are too big to be actually given to only one themes, we have the star trends part. And this is where we are analyzing that how macro trends are interpreted through different shows. And it allows you to understand the impact and the behavior of those trends. And last but not least, the trend screening. So this is the main interesting one, in my opinion, because it's really where we're giving like leveraging and actionable insights regarding catwalk trends, because you might be a bit confused about what you saw on the magazines, and even on catwalk, you don't really know how to adopt and how to adapt those trends. But with the trend screening, we're carefully going through all the granularity of those trend behavior to give you the best advice to how to adopt it and how to include it in your collection, because sometimes what seems a good idea is not always a good idea. So we are here to give you some lights amid the night. So stay with us till the end for this very interesting trend screening. And now I leave the floor to Amélie and Victoria to going through this Spring-Summer 2024 analysis.
So thank you, Julie. So as said, I will start with the city spotlight. So the focus on what were the main characteristic per city. So for questions of duration, we here just focus on Paris, even though in the full report we will have Milan, as London was very small in New York. Didn't happen. So here we decided to highlight those three trends. So I think in Paris we had this idea of simplistic, simple comfort, breathiness, easiness, which was still not to be confused with minimalism. We had Pearl that stand out with this 47% representation amongst all the colors we detected on the Parisian runways. Secondly, we had, in terms of shapes for pants, we had ankle pants, which I think it's been kind of a newcomer, a comeback, if I may say so. We had a lot of like floor length pants, wide leg, super long pants for the past seasons. And here we had something a bit shorter, but still keeping this idea of comfort with the wide leg, as you can see here, across those different brands, so Le Mer, Diamond, and Hermès. So straining away from like the very faded cigarette pants silhouette to here have something more roomy, more breezy, and comfortable for the summer. And lastly, in terms of tops, tank tops amounted for 6% of the shape that we were able to recognize on the French capital runways. And I think it was in fall winter 22 that we highlighted it, but on the women's wear part. And here it was introduced in the menswear with quite a lot of play in terms of fabrics and in prints. So you have here for Trois Paradis play with these dove printed tops that is matching the pants. For Egan Lab, we have the very simple ribbed jersey, cropped nonetheless tank top. And for Ludovic de Saint-Cernin, we took a bit more of a mature approach to its collection, and we had this linen set for tank tops. And I think here you can kind of see, and it's something that will come into the star trends and along the presentation, those idea of matching sets and done differently. So here for tank tops, you have it for Trois Paradis and Ludovic de Saint-Cernin. You have it also at Dior Men and at Etudes, so done in very different ways, but this idea of having easy, comfortable silhouettes that are easy to put up together. Then moving on to the SS23 trends, street style adoption. So this is an exercise that we do where we go back to what we presented you last year, and we scan and scroll and scan the street styles that happens at the entrance of the shows. And we see if the trends that we presented to you were penetrated this fashion crowd, because we believe that those persons are more edgy and more fashion forward in their approach to fashion, but they are also catalysts of the diffusion of trends amongst the more mainstream segments. So we present colors, prints, and fabric, but here we'll just focus on this pumpkin color, which was last year associated with the Bohemian Prep theme. That was a theme that was very linked to a sort of Californian easiness, summer vibe, very adventurous and free-spirited theme. And here you can see that for the fashion attendees, fashion show attendees, sorry, this was also how they embrace the shade. You have this crochet looks, very daring, kind of sexy, or even this full suit, but with this drape and very low V-neck closure, worn without anything under. Or this kind of cheeky vintage tee with the Coke logo. Concerning the data, last year it was predicted to diminish in terms of visibility by 4%, while still having quite a wide adoption and a medium magnitude. And here we see that for next year, for the spring summer 24, we have a kind of a resurgence in visibility with this plus 5% forecast, and we stay on the same segmentation and the same magnitude. And amongst the street style penetration, we have this rate of 5%, which is quite promising, as it is quite a bold color to play off. And also comes after all the neutrals. So 5% is generally quite a good one in terms of a penetration rate. Now we'll leave the floor to Victoria, who will present to you the third part where we talk about like the themes for this spring summer 24 season.
Thank you, Amélie. So for this menswear season, we defined 4 key themes. So the first theme was enhanced sensibility. So throughout every season, gender and androgyny discussions are consistently at play, but unlike menswear fashion weeks, past menswear fashion weeks, in spring summer 24, more brands opted for expressing sensibility and vulnerability through creative interpretations. So basically going further from the direct body exposure seen in the previous fashion weeks, the sensibility of this season was beautifully showcased through the presentation of fluidity in shapes, see-through fabrics, and subtle floral prints. In addition to a great number of brands embracing this direction, Saint Laurent, Valentino, and Prada stood at the forefront of this theme. To enhance this feeling of sensitivity, the chosen colors for this theme revolve around lightness. 3 key colors that stood out were white, cream, and brush pink. While cream showcased plus 3% growth compared to the last year, white showcases 0 when it comes to growth. However, white is certainly a timeless color worth investing in, as it is occupying 49% of all runway shows. Therefore, it is not surprising not to see a huge spike of growth. Blush pink is also showing 0 in terms of growth, as it is certainly more niche in the context of menswear shows. However, the growth is expected to see in the future. So what is interesting to say here is that similarly to previous fashion weeks, Spring-Summer 24 season saw brands focusing on monochromatic looks. Dolce & Gabbana was definitely the main brand that embraced this direction, presenting a remarkable amount of total white looks. Cream was seen on the runways of Dior, Gucci, Le Maire, while brush pink flourished in the shows of Valentino, Amélie, and Dries Van Noten. So for this theme, we defined 3 key fabrics such as see-through, knit, and satin. So satin showcased growth of plus 5% compared to last year, while knit grew by 1%. Even though a see-through showcases 0 when it comes to growth, we should keep in mind that it is directed to a smaller audience, edgy and trendy consumers, whilst, for example, knit also includes mainstream consumers. So giving just a little bit more details, see-through fabrics, for example, were used not only for tops, but also for pants, shorts, and even blazers, as we saw at Hermès. And during the season, knitted pieces were characterized by oversized and asymmetric shapes featuring V-necks to highlight the sensibility and tenderness. We also witnessed a lot of full satin looks, and the great example was full satin looks of Emporio Armani. So talking about patterns, so in line with this theme, the season embraced serenity and vulnerability throughout the presentation of plain looks, obviously, and also floral prints. So while plain looks grew by 1% compared to last year, floral seems to be losing visibility for the male segments, as they are considered as a consistent decliner by our algorithms, and registering for the second year in a row forecasted decrease of 3%. However, their wide adoption makes them easy to reignite if given the good design. So similarly to previous fashion weeks, the Spring-Summer 24 season saw brands focusing on showcasing monochromatic looks, and a lot of brands embrace this direction, such as Ami, Zegna, and Dolce & Gabbana. In addition, a multitude of brands showcased a great amount of floral prints, as seen at Prada and Valentino, so including ditzy prints, abstract florals, and three-dimensional flower prints. So the key shapes under this theme were transparent tops, fluid pants, and midi dresses. So to go deeper into one shape, wide leg. So as you see, it's a consistent riser. We see a growth of 3%, which is great. So a great amount of brands introduced fluid tailored pants. What we noticed, actually, most of them contain high waists, while a more limited selection explored the appeal of low-waisted options. When it comes to accessories, so the key accessories were ballerinas, tongue sandals, and long necklaces. But yeah, going deeper to one accessory, so the one that we saw a lot was ballet shoes. So it's not surprising, it was actually growing a lot for women. And now we saw like a huge rise, a notable increase of ballet flats for men. And Loewe was certainly the key brand, presenting a variety of ballet flats, from glittery ones to rubber ones. So yes, here you can see our starter pack. So just to sum up, so the key colors were white, blush pink, cream. So we had plain and floral for prints. Materials were see-through, knit, and satin. So for accessories, we had ballet flats, tongue sandals, and long necklaces. So the key brands that really represented this team the best were Saint Laurent, Giorgio Armani, Loewe. And for the key shapes, we had transparent tops, fluid tailor pants, and midi dresses. So now moving to the second team. So the second team was upscale collegiate. So it's all about mixing preppy styles with contemporary luxury. So this aesthetic was perfectly interpreted by brands such as Dior, Givenchy, and Louis Vuitton. So just compared to previous season, the season preppy styles were infused with more feminine elements such as pearls, sequins, and tweed. So drawing inspiration from school uniforms, it comes as no surprise that the color palette associated with this theme revolves around shades of navy, gray, and tan. For prints, we had argile, checkerboard, and window pane. The key fabrics that stood out were tweed, fine gauze, and sequins. For accessories, we saw a lot of fishermen's sandals, ties, and nerdy glasses. For shapes, we had bowling shirts, high-waisted pants, and elevated tracksuits. So the key brands that stood out were Dior, Prada, and Amiri. So the third theme that we chose was rapecore. So the long period of lockdown has had definitely a profound impact on people's needs for bright, vibrant social experiences, resulting in a steady growth of the rape trend. In addition, the rape trend draws inspiration from the vibrant rape scene of the 90s, so making it a part of Y2K trend. In the past, rape looks were mostly seen in the underground scenes, but in this season, we are witnessing a greater emergence of this trend on the runways. So the theme consists of simple silhouettes featuring like tank tops, crop tops, oversized bottoms, but the trend itself is mainly characterized by flashy colors, daring abstract prints, and fearless styling choices. So the key colors for this theme are pink, tangerine, and khaki. For prints, we have camouflage, animal prints. For animal prints, we had classic ones, we had abstract ones, we had like very tiny ones. So for materials, we had coated leather that was often a bit used, and crochet. For accessories, we had caps, we had extra large totes, often in shiny leather, and we also had soccer sneakers. So the key brands that stood out were Etude, Marine Serre, and Charles Jeffrey Loverboy. So for key shapes, we had crop tops, baggy shorts, and deconstructed knit. And the last theme, the Planet B. So the Planet B theme is all about the futurism, which is fused with warpcore aesthetic. The narrative is very much related to actual context, which is very heavy and in a way dark, keeping in mind events such as like pandemic, war, and overall social issues. It is in a way an invitation to escape this planet and start all over again. So basically trying to look forward for a brighter future. A great amount of brands introduced a variety of futuristic adventure looks. The influence is minimalistic, but filled with technicity and functionality, using details such as multi-pockets, zips, and straps. So basically what we have for prints, so we have like lime, we had tan, and we had metallic tones. For prints, we had landscape and shadows. For materials, we had waterproof, lustrous, and denim. For accessories, we had futuristic shades, multi-pockets, and trail sneakers. The key shapes were windbreakers, jumpsuits, and cargos, and brands that stood out were Emporium Armani, Nail Barret, and White Mountaineering. So now I'm going to give the floor for Amélie to continue with the star trends.
I'm sorry. Sorry, couldn't open my mic without clicking on the slides. But so yeah, so now coming on to the star trends. The star trends are for us a way to talk about the trends that were present across themes that were like almost present in every show, and to kind of also allow you to understand how for one trend you can have different interpretations depending on like one brand DNA, or like depending on the themes and the different characteristic or attribute that we had associated with the theme. So as you saw, the trend here that we decided to highlight for the webinar is bomber jacket. So obviously coming from the military world, it is a piece that has been reinterpreted by so many ways, by so many subcultures like hooligan, punks, different activists. And so this is one that, because of that, is quite easy to play with and to play into different interpretation, different brand DNA. Concerning our data, our forecasting data for the market, we have a decrease in visibility, as you can see here, with this -3%. But it's still considered, in terms of cluster, the cluster that we have is still considered a stable one. It is quite like obviously a stable piece for the men's wardrobe, so comfortable, and it also is to wash. And you see here by the segmentation that it's widely adopted, with like edgy, trendy, and mainstream consumers having adopted that trend. For the runway share, you have here less than 1%, but it still was widely present, sorry. And so for the ways that we saw it across themes, so for upscale collegiate, we have so soft tones of blues, generally matchy, worn with like the fin gauge, as we were talking earlier, and the little tie to make it very preppy. When it came to enhanced sensitivity, it was more of a lighter fabrics, worn with maybe like, as we were saying, like fluid pants. For race car, it was a bit trashy, matching with the shoes, this bright yellow color, and those kind of like hairbrush effects. And from Planet B, it's supposed to be super visible to make you be seen from outer space, and was played with like a sense of brocade at Louis Vuitton to enhance this luxury effects. And with the rain boots also, to have this idea of like conquering new spaces. And lastly, our last exercise, and as Julie was saying in the introduction, maybe the one is like looking ahead, and also when it is supposed to help you understand how to adopt one trend and what to bet on and maybe what not to bet on, is the trend screening. So we often, after the fashion week, as you see, have, okay, so blue stripes, I don't know, like leather were big trends, but with our data, we are able to say, okay, you should maybe adopt this trend, but maybe target it towards that type of product categories. So you do not miss the good opportunities, and you do not go for what is like missing in terms of visibility. So here, what we decided to go after was stripes. So stripe is like one very classic prints, obviously. And here it was mostly played on tops, shirts, as we are generally expecting to see stripes. So we had embroideries, or at Blue Marble, you had sequin or like strass. At Louis V, with Améry, it was a question of like just juxtaposition, of stripes with this jacket, and then the irregular stripes on this polo cardigan. But then when we associate these stripes as like a big trend to different product shapes, so like stripe on shirts, stripe on pants, stripe on blazers, stripe on everything, then we have the ability to give you more granularity and understanding on what is to bet on and not to bet on. So here, when you come to the catalog of Heuritech trends, we have a stripe associated with 22 trends. And so here you have like kind of the breakdown of the different clusters. So the clusters are defined by not only the forecasted growth, so is it like plus 10% or minus 10% for next year, but also the historical data and the historical behavior of the trend. So a consistent riser, for instance, so which represents 5% of the trend associated with stripes, is a trend that has been growing steadily for the past few years. Comebacks, that represent 14% of the trend associated with stripes, is a trend that has experienced a decrease in visibility and is slowly coming back, which gives it its name. Then a washout is one that is slowly but surely decreasing. So it's generally a continued decrease of maybe -3, -5% years after years. A consistent decliner is the opposite of a consistent riser, so has been on the decrease for quite a long time. And then fluctuating is generally one season after season, we have like a +3, -1. So it's fluctuate basically. So here you see that we have almost 50% of consistent decliner, which is why it is very important to understand what are the trends that I should bet on when I go for stripes. And then 27, like almost 30% of trends that are fluctuating. So when we dive into proper shapes, so here you have as consistent riser, we gave an example for every one of the clusters, but we have also more trends that are available in our catalog. As I was saying, 22. So for the consistent riser, the one we chose was this striped jacket. So as you can see here, that is experiencing a forecasted 1% growth for next spring, and the annual growth, which is the growth forecasted for the next 12 months, is of also a 1%. In terms of market share, so market share is the representation share within runways. It was amounted to 1%. Then making a comeback, we have those horizontal thick striped tops. So here we pick this image from Kikoko Stadinov. Even if the data is quite stable, we have an annual growth that is at +3%. So quite a good one, which explains also like the comeback clusterization that we have. And yes, we picked this image as Kikoko Stadinov because as I was presenting in the first part, the city spotlight, it also embraced this idea of matching set, and matching set was not something that was seen on tops and bottoms. So like maybe as you see for the MSGM, like the jacket and then the matching pants, but it was also done on knitwear with like the cardigan, and then underneath like the matching t-shirt, the matching sweater, like the lightweight sweater. So this was one way also to implement interesting new ways with stripes, is by this juxtaposition and those matching sets. Then so as for washout, we have the vertical striped tops, and that is here having a +2% increase for like the spring, so season on season, but that is decreasing by 1% for the next 12 months, which is what makes it a washout. And then moving on to the decliner, the consistent decliner. So it was striped pants that has so season to season a -2 decrease forecasted, and for the annual growth a -3 decrease. So interesting, but still here maybe has the biggest market share with those 2%, because it is also one of the most common ways to use stripes, whether like on tailoring. So this is why also it's important to say, okay, maybe it's not the safest and the most common way to adopt a print. That is the thing that is the most promising, or that is gaining the most visibility. And lastly, as fluctuating, we have the striped shorts, where you have so this +1, -1 play on between like the year on year and the season to season forecasted growth. And yet the the 2% market share representation amongst the runway images that we analyzed. So to finish off, just quickly the key takeaways. So for us, we felt like, and it was kind of what Julie was saying as the introductory part, we felt like this kind of use of fluidity to enlishment, whether it was to play with women's code, whether it was to introduce technical or gore elements to the tailoring silhouettes, are the use of AI, so man vs machine to create new proposition of design, was really the way to unleash this new era of menswear. And so these wrote to our 4 themes that represent you, so upscale collegiate, enhanced sensibility, ravecore, and planet B. Then also, as we were mentioning, so we had the show that are freeing themselves more and more from the gender restraint with this 30% representation of female models. So maybe we're bound to have like 1 big fashion weeks in the seasons to come. And lastly, so here we just presented the bomber jackets, but then the other store trends that we have in the bigger reports are suits, polo shirts, Bermuda shorts, loafers, and shabby sneakers. So those would be kind of the must-have to play on and to accommodate to your DNA, to your brain DNA, and also to your consumers' expectation.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you to all for your presence today and your fidelity. We really appreciate every moment we are taking the speech to receive your positive feedbacks and enthusiastic feedback. So as you understood, we have a full report version to provide you with if you need to deep dive more into more granular data. So do not hesitate to reach at info@heuritech.com. Also, do not hesitate to subscribe our newsletter because it will allow you to be aware of our next reports, events, articles, and also webinars. And do not forget that we only give you like 10% of what we are capable of. Everything is on our platform and you will be able to operate autonomously on this platform. So do not hesitate to turn your team in the kind of fashion team we are. Have a good day and see you to the next season. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for attending.